It's an exciting Tuesday afternoon. We are here once again to take a look at things going on internationally on the International Forum. I am Wilson Marshall. Today is all about the U.S. debt crisis, where you get to see, experience, feel the argument between various arms of government on whether or not the debt ceiling should be raised. If you really want to know the in-depth of these analyses, I have two veterans here with me in the studio. On this platform, they are political analysts. I'd like to start my introduction by introducing the man on my far left. Yes, Irobe Heyechoya. I hope I got that name correctly.
That's very correct.
Welcome, sir. I appreciate your comment.
Thank you very much.
All right, and of course
Good
I have
afternoon, viewers.
Of course, I have Honorable Frank Amego.
Yes.
Welcome to International Forum.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate your comment. Well, our others would like to know what is really happening right now in the U.S. because no longer news that some banks shut down, government needs to come to their aid, and right now talking about raising the debt ceiling. U.S. right now is owing over $13 trillion. I mean, over $13 trillion. And they are still functioning as a nation. But now, the huge argument is this. Should you go above a particular debt ceiling, put in its place to check some unforeseen circumstances? We talk about economy of the U.S. and, of course, global economy. I like Europe to take the first shot at this, starting from what debt ceiling is and how U.S. enter into this particular crisis they are in right now. Over to you.
All right. The U.S. economy, like we have come to know all over the world, is one of the strongest economies. And some economists have said that when the U.S. economy sneezes, the rest economies catch cold. What is happening to the American economy today is to us a huge surprise. Our moderator just said 13 trillion. I think it's actually $31 trillion. And that is the debt profile, out of which America owes China $1 trillion. How did they get there? There are three indicators that they have advanced for the poor state of that world economy. One, they talk about the inability of the U.S. government to appropriately appropriate funds and resources to where they are supposed to be used. For example, the American government generates about $4 trillion, and then they spend $6 trillion. So where do they get the balance from? It has to come from borrowing. So they are, from the onset, going to borrow. Another one is demography. The American economy and population is an aging one. So according to statistics, about 10,000 persons move into the aging bracket daily at 65 years. About 10,000 persons become 65 years daily in America. And in America, that group don't work anymore. And so they need social insurance for them, they need Medicare for them, and they need other services. So the people, or those who no longer work, those who no longer contribute to the economy are now larger than the workforce. That is another factor. Then the third factor is the rising cost of Medicare and healthcare. According to statistics too, American government spends twice what other advanced nations spend on healthcare. For example, in Korea and in Japan, they spend about $3,000 per person per annum on healthcare. Whereas, if you come down in Austria, Switzerland, and in Germany, they spend as much as $7,000. But in America, it is $12,000. So you can see that they spend twice as much as even Korea, Japan, and Canada. So these are the three factors that propel the American economy into a state of maybe being on life support as it were, to be able to survive. But what is the effect on this?
We'll come to that. Right. We'll come to that because it gave us a foundation to the discussion. It mentioned 3 factors. And if I say that both 13 trillion, he said the exact amount is 31 trillion, plus some other things. Now, he mentioned the 3 factors. And America right now, they're battling with it. At first, it was the Silicon Valley Bank that was first struck. It shook the world, but somewhere along the line, the government of the United States came to their rescue. Even England also did their bit all around the world. They threw in their weight behind, you know, the banks so that they can just survive that first shock. And right now, it's no longer a secret that America is in serious debt crisis. Healthcare, age bracket, age limits, you just name it. Now, people like saying that the reason why they are going through this is because of the way Joe Biden is piloting the American economy. After all, he's the #1 man in the U.S. Take it up from the political angle.
Yes. Along that line is of note for us to understand now that that ceiling has been adjusted 78 times.
78 times?
78. And these 78 times cut across Democratic and Republican presidents. So you cannot heap all the blames on Joe Biden. Just that is this time that is the one facing the music. And it's not more of a challenge to me because what the Republican congressmen are saying, we will raise the bar again, but you cut down on some expenses. Joe Biden is ready to cut down the expenses. I think any time from now today, there's a meeting between Joe Biden and the congressmen, both Republican and Democratic. That meeting is for night, which is today. That was on one leg. On the other side of it is the the ceiling. If it's not raised, everybody will suffer it. It had nothing to do at that point with whether you are Democratic or Republican or you have no party at all. The sky that is for the working one person. So what I think they should be doing now is appeal to the conscience of Joe Biden to step down a little bit on the cut down costs of governors, cut down costs on relief.
Yeah, on relief.
That they give to people. So what would, I think the outcome of today's meeting will really direct the affairs of the American government. And there's no nation of this world that is not owing. So if they have had this challenge, you know, in 2011, something close to this happened. It was the last day that the Congress agreed to raise the ceiling. 2011. And in 2013, a similar thing also happened. So if you draw inspiration from 2011, 2013, 2023 won't be a major challenge. They will come to a compromise such that this is our country. The one major thing I like about the US and the citizens, they understand nationality. If you agree with nationality, nationalism will become very easy, or patriotism. So if you are not nationalistic as a person, patriotism is challenged. So they are nationalistic. So no matter the political divide they would have had, just everyone wants to show that he or she belongs somewhere. The president is a Democrat, and the Republicans want to show that this is their time, and they have the simple majority.
All right.
And if that becomes it, if it happens that Joe Biden does not shift ground on the cost of governors, they still will raise the bar.
Okay, they will raise the bar. Now, you talked about them raising the debt ceiling 78 times. But now, can one deduce that from what is really happening in the world, vis-a-vis the war between Russia and Ukraine, is a contributing factor to raising or suggestion to raise this debt ceiling in the U.S.?
Well, it is a political matter. Raising the ceiling or not raising the ceiling, the American government knows the effects. And that's it. And
for the 78th time.
Yeah, yes, it's like not doing this is like committing economic suicide. How? This is how it goes. The world is waiting. You have the Chinese government, we have the German government, we have the French government that are waiting. So the dominance that the American economy had enjoyed over the years is now being questioned. This is because they are looking at why should it be that it is the American dollar that should serve as the world currency? Why is it that for every country of the world, if they are making budget, the American dollar becomes the benchmark? This is because the American has put its economy in such a way that what the economy will call relative stability and minimal volatility. This is because what they have done is that the economy is now so stable that the treasuries which they have become the store bank, have become the world central bank where every country of the world will want to go and drop in. Give or take, coming or going, the world is better. This is because if they do not do it, America is going to suffer. What will be the suffering? Many things will happen. For example, there will be a slowdown in global market. 2, the new reserve currency will emerge. And this is where I'm interested. So that by the time we are now making...
Are you talking about the BRIC economy right now, the BRICS economy?
Yes, it will emerge. You will now begin to hear this budget is predicated on Japanese yen, or is now on rupees, and as the case may be, no longer dollar. And they will not want that, because the market economy does not permit such flow, such floating, or maybe you subject it to guesses and conjectures. So they are sure that they will continue to maintain that economic dominance. And so raising it is sure, no doubt. They don't care, they don't mind how much debt that they owe. It's about the largest in the world. But they are still ready to go ahead, raise the bar a little, get some more money, and then be able to finance their budget. Because if they do not, certainly they will not be able to finance their budget.
All right, now he's been deposited that America, they owe the largest, so to speak, in the world. Yeah. 31 trillion and some other things added to it, dollars. Now, he said America need to borrow to survive. If they go ahead borrowing to survive, I don't think it's going to affect them negatively in terms of the strength of the US dollars. He talked about other major players waiting for them to crash for us to have a new denomination when you talk about global, how would I put it now, global mode of currency exchange, but now using the dollars right now. Is it going to affect that?
Yeah, it will, but borrowing will be of a lesser consequence than not borrowing. Was at last month, April, from the Treasury Secretary, they observed that what U.S. is having in its reserve will be fully used up next month. That's June.
Next month?
Yes. And if that happens, it's like it's a human-made, it's a man-made problem that man refused to solve. It wasn't maybe due to nature or any other thing. It's a man-made thing that happened. So man should still come to the rescue. It is worse off not borrowing and plunge everybody into jeopardy. And it's wiser now, my suggestion is, it's wiser to borrow and still float than not to borrow, claiming whatever reason or reasons, and everybody goes down. And that big name America will be no more as from June, because there will be no more money to spend. You can't pay salaries, you can't do a lot of things. The stock market will nosedive, so many challenges. As he said while introducing the talk, the healthcare will be will somersault. So that the people you have made up your mind to govern will be no more. Everybody's challenged health-wise, financially and otherwise. So let the consequence of borrowing be bearable, instead of waiting not to borrow and face a larger consequence. So that's my take.
So you're supporter of them borrowing?
They should borrow. You raise the debt ceiling a little bit more. This is not the first time. This is the first time. So it's not about political affiliation. Democrats have ruled U.S., Republicans have ruled U.S., and they've all had this challenge.
All right, now for what he rightly said, he said next month, June, the reserve will be usurped, will be used up totally, so to speak. They'll be able to meet up with their current or fiscal expenditure, depends on the angle you're taking a look at it from. If they should keep borrowing, how are they going to settle the debts?
Oh, well, in world economics and economic analysis, we know that no country actually survives solely on his own GDP. You must rely on external sources to fund your economy. America is not an exception. We are aware that from the statistics that have been released, they said as of today, the average resettling debt profile of the American government is 1.3 billion. That's what they spend every day to settle their debt.
That's debt servicing.
Debt servicing, $1.3 billion every day. And that goes. And they have also said that with the American population, in the next, up to 2029, an average American will be hugely indebted to the world by $94,134.
Now, that is huge.
That is huge. So you can see that, give or take, whether or not, you are looking at June, what is the situation as it is? So it is an evil day that is known, although postponed. So they just have to keep afloat. America has to survive because they are already hugely in debt. However, like he said, they are not cutting down on those bogus extra budgetary expenses. Americans still want to play the Godfather. You have interest in Russia-Ukraine war. You have interest in Sudan war. So what are you...
Even in China, Taiwan, dispute.
There are vested interests here and there. Well, again, this is because they have to protect their economy, knowing what can possibly result. There are 5 things that can happen if, in the event that they do not do this. And so they are also looking at the effects on the world economy. First, where will the American economy now be? What would be the position of the Americans? The issue of the slogan, "This is America," will be no more. And no government will want to do that. Debt, they know. Debt servicing, they know. How much they are owing, they know. How much they get, they know. And of course, I know that those who plan such economy actually know what to do. If borrowing is the way out, they just have to do it. This is because the figures are there, the facts are there. You either do this and suffer this, or leave this and have this. So it is plus and a minus situation.
All right, now for what he rightly said, he said they know what is coming for them. $94,000 and counting per citizen in America in the next couple of years. Do you think that should be like a note of warning to the American society for them to cut down expenditure rather than lifting the debt ceiling?
Yeah, I still suggest or advise that the debt ceiling be raised for U.S. to maintain its integrity before the world. But Joe Biden is still very reluctant on cutting those costs.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't know the outcome of today's meeting is going to have with them. So if the Republicans can insist as a conditionality for us to lift the debt ceiling, whether it's going to cut the cost or not, they will raise it. But the president should understand right now that if we are borrowing $1 million, then we're going to spend $1.2 million, and that thing keeps on going like that. There's going to be a major challenge for the American economy. So I have the opinion that the Joe Biden administration should listen to the voice of reasoning, that one way in borrowing is you reduce your expenditure. It's a common sense. But because of the interest in some other countries, Ukraine, Russia war, Taiwan, China, different challenges. So they expect that Joe Biden will listen along that line, ignore the political difference.
All right, now you just want to go for a break or return. We'll continue with this discussion if you just joined us. This is International Forum. Don't go away. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. We're taking a look at the debt crisis of the United States of America, the global implication. If you don't know right now, according to reports for this moment, at this particular moment, U.S. is the most indebted country in the world because of the kind of currency, about $31 trillion converted to other currencies. Man, it's huge.
It's unimaginable.
It's huge. When you compare it to the Chinese yen, convert to Naira, I mean, it's like, it's mind-blowing, but still, they are the number one economically. How does it make sense? Over to you now.
Well, they are the number one because America is seen as, like I said just now, the American economy is the World Bank. In other words, they are it is the economy that collateralizes funds from other nations of the world. So those who put their money in there is this magnet pool approach that the economy attracts in America. So people actually know that, give or take, American dollar has remained the strongest over time. In the last 50 years, other countries have devalued their currency, and I'm not sure America has done that. So there's even an option for them now. The World Bank has advised that should they be hesitant, should they feel that borrowing may not help, they should devalue. Devalue, bring down the currency, and of course, that will have a ripple effect on every other sector of the economy. But you are asking, how is it that they are still able to maintain this? This is because of the investment. The entire world has this mentality of investing in the American economy. So we have an array of industries, firms, contractors. Everybody is looking at the dollar, in spite of the fact that they are in debt owing to reckless, in quote, spendings and unadvised expenditures. American government is still able to keep its head above water because the management expert there, the economic expert there, are able to have a kind of projection and a grip on what will happen. They don't, like I said, they don't play anything to chance. Nothing happens by chance in America. Everything that happens has been planned. They actually know that this will be. They know that this will come. And so there are buffers. There are mitigators. There are ways they can reduce the effect of some of their actions on their citizens and the economy.
Now they were given options. Cut down on your spending. It's going to affect health, the pensioners, the military, even the, how will I put it now, the Green Chamber and the Red Chamber, they're all linked to the government of the day. Do you think it's possible for them to, like, cut down their losses, or let's say cost of governance, or devalue the currency? Which option do you think that Joe Biden think tank will suggest?
Yes. If that becomes the situation, the House of Representatives has a simple majority of the Republicans. So if they insist to cut down the costs, that will make a better sense than devaluing the currency. If you devalue the currency, it will affect all other economies of the world. Yeah. And what you should have borne by yourself as a person, now you are spreading it. It's just like you have a communicable disease. So if it will be kind of quarantined somewhere, get over it. You want to go to the public and expose and infect every other person. So let them cut down the cost. So if there are economic experts that think the right way, the best bet is to cut down the cost of governance. Even the helps you give to the external countries, you reduce them. Our present situation does not allow us to give you as we used to. Please bear with us. We are sorry, as they say, for the inconveniences. So at least for a short while, so that after that moment, when they recover, they can even go ahead and pay those or give reliefs to other neighboring countries or those people they have been helping all this while. For Joe Biden not to listen to them later today about cutting down the costs is a direct aspect of trying to tell the whole world that I, as Joe Biden, I want to crash America. And I don't think he wants to take that risk. Because if he does so, the Democrats will not be happy with him. Because there's no way they have voted him into power than to crash America as a country. So a simple thing, reduce the cost of governance, cut down on the expenditures to other countries so that we can have a sigh of relief. So if he doesn't listen to that voice of reasoning, I wonder how today's meeting will turn out to be.
How today's meeting will turn out to be. All right, now, you talk about cutting costs also. The other aspect we should look at, U.S., they are heavily investing in Ukraine, in the war against Russia. They're also heavily investing in the China Pacific to protect Taiwan against the onslaught, so to speak, of China. If you go to the Korea Peninsula, they're investing heavily in South Korea to protect them against North Korea. If you go to the South China Sea, Japan also is inevitably dependent on the U.S. Now let's come to Africa. In Egypt, they have this pact that U.S. must surely support their military. NATO is not even out of the picture. Now, do you think if they should cut their expenditure, how do you think all this country and the U.S. allies will fare?
Oh, okay. There is this what they call negotiated and renegotiated pacts.
Negotiated and renegotiated pacts
in economies. What this one means is this. Like you said, the American government had already spread its hands and tentacles to these nations and they want to call them allies. This is because it is a give and take. The interest that they have in these nations far supersede whatever investment or whatever input that they are putting into this. Now, these are parts. I'm going to do this for you for this XYZ period, pending when XYZ will be ABC. Parts. Now, if it does not happen, they come back to the table and renegotiate. That is negotiated and renegotiated part. Now, what that one means is this. By the time they now come back, if there is a drawing board, like people will always say, go back to the drawing board to say, how much investment do we have in these nations that you mentioned? And what are the returns? So if there is no tangible return, like my brother said, the wisest thing to do is to step back a little, and then this policy of renegotiating, they have to look at it. Okay, by the time you are going to renegotiate, if you could not do what you said you were going to do because I was going to do ABC for you, this is what you are going to do. And so that becomes a less evil, an optional part for them. It's like parting them to say, we couldn't do this, now let us renegotiate. The fear now is this. You see, we were talking about devaluing the dollar as an option, if you bring it down. So what happens is that if the dollar is devalued, the effect on the American economy will also be grievous. In fact, according to one economist, it will be catastrophic.
Catastrophic, yes, he said that.
Okay. Now, what does that portend for the American regime and the American government? Buying will be difficult. It is just simple. It's simple logic. They can't do businesses with other nations because they will not need more money to be able to do that because their currency will no longer be as strong. For example, like we are talking of Nigeria now, if we are making our budget, say it's predicated on $1 or is it $1 to whatever naira you want to put. So if you bring it down, and you are going to sell, American will now have to pay more money, and then what will happen is that the interest rate will come down. And if the interest rate comes down, again, more money will be lost. And so it affects the entire economy in a way that it will take an economic wizardry to be able to get off that hook.
All right. Now, if you take a look at the world, they're talking about 5 countries coming together to talk about economy, most especially economy. We have Brazil, Russia, India, China, and don't forget to mention South Africa. They're known as BRICS nation. People are like saying BRICS right now is the way. And they are postulating that they are going to knock off the dollar from being a kind of, a general tender. Globally, currency. They want to take that power off the dollar. Do you think what America is going through right now to be easy for this BRICS nation to do just that?
Yeah, it should only be easy if they devalue dollars. If a dollar is devalued, very easy for BRICS to carry on. And there is no way an average American or somebody that is in power in America will allow that happen in their lifetime. Now, if you say somebody is handsome or beautiful and the person does not have a nose, you don't be wondering where is that the beauty of the handsome. So you say great America, the greatness would have been depleted to the point that would have feel sorry for America. They would do everything at their disposal to sustain that dollar rate. So that is why I'm still hammering on Joe Biden, listening to the Republican congressman, cut down the cost, which is very easy. Cut down the cost of governance will be there for a short while. The way the economy revamps, you can go ahead and do whatever you've been doing. So BRICS will be ready to see the downfall of the dollar, which I think they will never see. So the American people will not wait.
What you think they'll never see, but it's like playing out itself right now, because from what you rightly, I know, like you said, at least an American will be indebted to whoever in the world put them together, $94,000 in few years to come if it's not well handled.
That's statistics or history. I'm talking about reality.
Reality.
Yeah. The American people will not allow that to happen. You know, when you're talking about statistics or history, a lot of things can change. As I mentioned, 2011, it was something close to this. The raising of the debt ceiling was the last day they had that they raised it. 2011. Then 2 years after, 2013, something close to that, very close shaving, close to that they waited and waited. They say once upon a time, we had a country or a continent called America. They say over their dead bodies. 2013, they raised it again. So there is no reason for us to sit here in this studio to believe that they will raise it. They will raise it. They are going to raise it.
Can one deduce that America right now is a country on autopilot because of the high rates of borrowing right now, raising it for the 78th time, but if they raise it to, there's going to be 79.
Why not? It started from 1.
From 1, 2, 3. Now, if they agree to it, there's going to be 79th time. Take it up from there.
When you are even talking of raising the ceiling, which they call the X date.
Yes.
It's like playing with words and economics here. What America is simply doing is going to borrow to the borrower's market. Nigeria government does that. Recently we heard what was it not 22
trillion.
22 trillion. And what was that?
But someone say this is borrowing with a difference. I don't want to dive into that today.
Okay,
borrowing with a difference.
Borrowing with a difference. Yes. Yeah. Like they said, you borrow to survive, and you also borrow to invest. You do not borrow to please. So it will be foolhardy for American government to think about borrowing so that the BRICS nations might begin to think otherwise and begin to think less of what they have to do. They are planning their economy irrespective of what the world feels. That's what I feel, because history has it that it is still the strongest economy in the world. And because of that, the world is still looking at the American economy as the economy that dictates the tone and the pace. If the economy sneezes, the entire world economy will have to adjust. And it has already shown, because what we are seeing now is this. With the debt profile, nations, like I said when I introduced the issue, was that nations are waiting. There are nations that are waiting to see what happens. What happens next? It's just like the hyena and the jackal waiting for the carcass of a going to die lion. So they are waiting. This is what is going to happen. We have to take advantage of this. So it is not a one-man show. The American economy cannot even be monopolistic. Any other economy can overtake and supersede. I see China coming up, because I was going through their debt profile and what is actually happening to them. And I was shocked to hear that American government, American economy is indebted to China by $1 trillion.
$1 trillion.
$1 trillion, do you know what that one is? And so, by the time the Chinese government decided to pull out from there and say, okay, give us this money, or we want to take this fund from you, as it were, what happens? They are borrowing, and nations survive on that. It is not the end of the world, and it's not the end of what we are going to see. It is part of what it is, an economic principle that any nation that wants to survive must adopt.
Must adopt.
Borrowing or generating. Whether produce or you borrow.
But now we know America as a producing society, producing economy. The whole economy should be vibrant. Doesn't that mean that they've cut down on production? Is that the reason they're undergoing or going through what they're going through right now in terms of the debt crisis?
Production has not gone down. It's the spending. Your salary is not changing, but your value system is
increasing.
Yes, that's the challenge that America is having now. That's the matter that Republican people are saying, cut down. We are not getting as much as you will want to spend. So once that happens, the economy will revamp in a short while. But I'm wondering why Joe Biden is not acceding to that. Cut down. If you don't have to study economics, everybody that is working, you earn a living, you are an economist. If your salary is 10,000 naira and you rented a place every month, 8,000 naira, how do you survive? So every person that is living on earth is an economist. Same wherever that is living on earth, you are a politician, you are a doctor, you know that this place you are going to, there's a health hazard. Nobody, you don't need a doctor to tell you. You will know by yourself that this thing is risky. So Joe Biden should come to the full consciousness that the option of not reneging in the cutting down of costs will create more problems for the American economy in trying to bounce back. I'm sure today, I'm still relying on today's meeting outcome, that a lot of persons would have spoken to his conscience that Joe Biden, this wasn't the America you met, and this America should not go down in your time. That will come upon him, and in a short while, he will realize that the voice of reasoning from the side of the Republicans, that that's the way to go. And right now, it has nothing to do with any politics. This is our economy. If it happens now, are you ready, you and your family members, everybody in America are going to slavery? That the countries that we need to give relief to, we're not going cap in hand borrowing from them anymore. The world power will claim we have been in charge of the United Nations. I will now go there and sit down as an ordinary person. No, but none of them will take that. So Joe Biden very likely will accept as a conditionality that the Republicans will place before him. Before we raise the debt ceiling, he will have to agree to cut down costs.
If he should agree to cut down costs, where do you think he was going to start from?
Well, if he agrees to cut down costs, which is...
if he will agree.
Yeah.
Because they have so many things right now doing globally.
The way my friend is saying it here is this. Yeah. Joe Biden does not own America. It's not for him. He's the head of that team. So he cannot say he will agree or he does not agree. If he does not agree, the Congress have a way, there's a tool for which they can make him agree. They can override and veto that agreement. But that's on one side. So if he has to agree, or if they have to cut down, it has to be on heads. That the average American is saying that they are not seeing the effects of that spending. $12,000 per individual in America is budgeted for health. Yet, according to them, people still die, and they die at 70, at 65. Say, where are we getting this? Why are we spending twice as much as Germany? Why are we spending twice as much as Canada for health? And yet we are not
people are still dying.
And people are still dying. And they have also said that there's a research and a review of the cost of Medicare in America, that the average American cannot access Medicare. And so that is why there's even this growing tension of you claim to be spending XYZ and the highest in the world. But we are not saying it. We can't pay. That is why you cannot even see somebody go to America now to save for Medicare. You can't go to America because you can't pay. You either go to US or you go to China or you go to wherever, but not America. And so the cost on health is huge. If there is a slice, cut down, I don't want to use that term, if there is a slice in whatever they are spending on in that sector now, I'm sure it's going to help out. Education is crumbling in America. I don't have the statistics, but I have the brief that the American system of education is not as, how do I put it now? Forward-looking. I should be. That is crumbling and they are crying. There is this inequality, widening inequality. There are only two strata now. If you are either at the highest or you are the lowest. There is no middle class. You are poor or you are rich. And so an economy that is about to crumble reduces itself to two strata. Yeah. The rich and the poor.
No middle class.
No middle class. So if you are rich, you are rich. If you are poor, you are poor. You die and you die off. So they have said that American government or American economy is now like that. And so they will need to bridge the gap. What is really happening? Inequalities, healthcare, crumbling economy, and so on.
All right. He talked about healthcare. Remember the Obama healthcare plan? All of a sudden, there were like ups and down talks, a particular healthcare scheme. And right now, they are still saying that paying $12,000 per head in America to subsidize healthcare. They are not saying it. If they should go with that format of taking now the subsidy on healthcare, do you think America will remain the same?
I'm of the opinion that they should leave that amount and interrogate the management of that fund. Maybe there's a diversion somewhere.
Like this man's constituency.
Yes, I know.
Don't reduce it. Don't
go there. Don't go there.
Let's probe into the management of the fund.
Okay.
If it's twice what they pay in Canada, in Germany, and the rest, then how come our health is failing? They should probe into that. It could be there's a mismanagement, or there's a misappropriation here and there,
or leakages.
Yes, it happened in Nigeria. The wife of the president of Nigeria, Aisha Buhari, at the time shouted, and to the extent what she said was unbelievable, that she couldn't find needle and syringe at the presidential clinic. Budgets are made yearly,
which they do not use.
Yes. It. So, so that could be the case now.
All right.
Corruption is not a Nigerian word; it's an English word. We didn't invent it. Yes. So if there's a word corruption, it can happen anywhere in the world. So if so much is invested in health and little or nothing is coming out of it, they can probe into it and from there sustain the health of people. You can't be ruling people and instead of taking 2 tablets of paracetamol, you say, okay, we give them half a tablet. So it won't cure anything. If $12,000 cannot bring about good health, and now slice it to $2,000, what happens?
All right, our time is totally up. Okay, I've gone the second from the presenter to say, look, Will, it's time for you to call it a wrap on this show. Briefly, just briefly.
Yes.
Is the world going to go through another recession? Taking at least as what is happening to the American economy, briefly.
Well, American economy does not control the world. If the American economy goes into recession, it is part of an economy that will go into recession.
All right.
And we just hope that it will also come out of it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So what's your view on this?
America is ready to go into recession. They will do everything possible to ensure that they remain afloat.
They remain afloat. You've heard them. The meeting will be held today. We're going to tell you the outcome of the meeting. Are they going to raise the debt ceiling for the 79th time? Only time will tell. What about the influence of America in the Ukraine-Russian war? Taiwan-China relations, South Korea, North Korea. You just name it. America, 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 the world police. We'll keep it posted. And of course, see you same time next week on this station. Bye for now.